folks, I am the Bitterklinger, and today I'm taking a look at the exiled realm of Arborea, otherwise known as TERA. TERA is a free-to-play MMORPG that's been around in Korea and Japan for about 5 years, and it's been available in North America since May 2012. While this is probably one of the more complete reviews of TERA available on the internet, there are some things I don't cover. There is crafting in the game, but I don't do any crafting other than a few introduction to crafting quests. Also, since I already play one of the best PvP MMOs on the market, I don't bother with any PvP in TERA. Finally, I have a level 23 Priest and a level 40 Berserker, but the maximum level in TERA is 65, so I won't be covering any endgame content in this video. The topics I will be covering in this review are monetization, player population, lore and storyline, graphics and interface, character creation, gameplay and progression, and finally what I like to call annoyances. TERA is free to play. You have access to the game and all expansions for absolutely no cost. This includes 2 character slots and 1 bank slot per server. There is a cash shop where you can buy convenience and cosmetic items, including extra bank and character slots. Those will run you between $4 and $5 each, depending on how many EMP you buy at any one time. TERA offers an Elite status, which is a $15 a month subscription service with a number of benefits. I've played free and with Elite status. I haven't seen any reason why you would need to have Elite status, but I could definitely see why you would want it, especially once you got your first character to max level. I will tell you that even prior to max level, you get a lot more XPs and a lot more gold with Elite status turned on. The Village Atlas feature will also save you some running around. It basically gives you access to all the flight paths, which are usually unavailable until you discover them for yourself. Since TERA was introduced on Steam late last year, it has become the #1 MMORPG on Steam, at least in terms of concurrent users. The cities are crowded and you can even find a good number of players hanging out at dungeon entrances. The player population is definitely large enough to support multiplayer content and the player-driven economy. I've done a few of the 5-man dungeons and I use TERA's instance matching to find groups. It's taken the instance matcher between 10 and 15 minutes to find a group on each occasion. Keep in mind that the group finder is trying to match a full group of players meeting certain class, gear, and level requirements. It can be faster to simply use the chat system to find a couple of other players to do the dungeon. I even did a 5-man dungeon with just 1 other player and no healer, but the group finder does work in a reasonable amount of time. Players also seem to be using the brokerage house, at least if you're selling the right items. I put what appears to be a desirable item up for sale and it only took about 45 minutes to sell at the full asking price. By the way, one benefit of having Elite status is you're exempt from the 5% earnest to list items on the brokerage house, and the broker only takes a 10% cut of any sales rather than the usual 15% cut taken from free players. I haven't been to any quest hubs where there weren't other players around. The chat I've seen has been tame up to this point, but I'm playing on a PvE server. I expect chat could get a little rough on PvP servers where players tend to be a bit more competitive. The few times I've gone to chat for assistance, I received a helpful response, even at mid-level quest hubs, so players are everywhere in TERA. The lore for TERA is non-existent, and the premise behind your character's purpose is trivial. Having said that, the storyline is actually pretty good, and the quests are meaningful and well designed. This is a case where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I find myself looking forward to what happens next, rather than watching my XP bar. There are a number of cinematics throughout the course of the main storyline. I personally don't like cinematics in my RPGs, but these look good and they're well done, though the lip syncing is, well, there is none. The graphics and animations for TERA are very impressive. I'm able to maintain a high and stable frame rate, though I've heard people complain about lag in the cities, especially in the area of the bank and broker. I've personally never had a problem with it on what I would classify as my above average gaming rig. The landscapes and visuals in the game are stunning, and I'm still running into new creatures where I just say, wow, look at that thing. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the user interface. Each element in the user interface can be repositioned and resized independently, making it very customizable. But there always seems to be some element either in the way or out of place. If it's not the chat window, it's the quest tracker. If it's not the quest tracker, it's the area map. I'm still trying to find the right combination of position and scale, but no matter what I try, there's always something that falls short of being just right. It also seems the developers of TERA either don't support mods or don't allow mods because there doesn't appear to be a modding scene for this game. So you should be prepared to spend some time tweaking and experimenting with the user interface in order to find the right configuration that works for you. TERA has a great mix of unique races, and the classes that I've played so far seem well designed. There are 7 distinct races to choose from, and each race has its own set of useful racial traits. You can choose male or female on 4 of the races, but 3 of the races are gender locked. You can select only males for the Popori and Baraka, while the Elin are available as females only. An interesting side note, the Elin were originally designed to simply be female Popori, but for some reason they were broken out as their own race. Of course, the character models are highly stylized, and the female character models are overly sexualized. If that's not something you like, or can at least tolerate, then you're not going to be able to tolerate TERA. Frankly, some of the male character models look like they belong in a Calvin Klein ad and not out killing monsters in the Bastion of Lok. But maybe I'm just getting old. There are 10 character classes to choose from, including the new Gunner class, which is gender locked with race restrictions. You must choose a female High Elf or a female Kastanic for the Gunner class. TERA offers a real trinity with Lancers, Warriors, and just recently Berserkers as tank classes. Mystics and Priests are the healers, Warriors, Berserkers, and Slayers are melee DPS, while Gunners, Archers, and Sorcerers are range DPS. There's also a Reaper class, which, like the Gunner class, is restricted to females because only Elin can be Reapers, and you must first have a level 40 character on the same server to unlock the Reaper class. Now, all these classes are weapon locked, meaning the Gunner will always use a gun, the Berserker will always use a two-handed axe, the Lancer a lance, and so on and so forth. That may not sound very appealing at first, but it doesn't detract from character itemization at all. In fact, it combines with a weapon progression system that ensures you always have a current and powerful main weapon equipped. I'll talk a little more about that in the segment on gameplay. TERA has some decent detail options in the character creator, and the customization is a lot better than older RPGs, but it doesn't have nearly the level of detail offered in the newest MMORPGs being released. However, the level of detail is certainly overkill if you play with your view fully zoomed out like most players do. I'll have a hard time seeing your perfectly pouty lips from way out here. The developers for TERA have integrated character development, a quest system, and solid combat mechanics, with the end result being some very rewarding gameplay. Now, I don't like the general trend towards action-based combat in MMORPGs, but I must admit that the combat in TERA has me warming up to the idea. I enjoy watching the high-quality combat animations, and the on-screen crit splatter effects are surprisingly satisfying. Of course, there are plenty of quest mobs that you can round up and DPS down without giving a single thought to defense, but don't let that lull you into carelessness. The quest areas are peppered with creatures that can present quite a challenge to the uninitiated. These mobs will telegraph their power attacks, but if those are the only attacks you avoid, plan on dying a lot. There is a death penalty, by the way, the least of which is the inconvenience of being teleported away from your quest hub and back to the nearest town. You'll also have to use a consumable or stay near a campfire to recharge your stamina before heading back into the battle. Finally, there is a chance one of your enhancement crystals used to upgrade your weapons and armor will be destroyed. Now, I don't know exactly what the chance is, but if I had to guess, I would say probably around 50%. I've lost a number of enhancement crystals to the death penalty. Now, they're not very hard to find, at least not at the lower levels, but I could definitely see how this would be a serious penalty at higher levels when you're dealing with very rare crystals. The quest system in TERA isn't going to be anything you haven't seen before, but the quests are well designed with evenly paced progression. You'd never feel like a kill count is too high or that you've been in a particular quest area too long. There's been only 2 occasions where I ran into a short series of messenger quests. You know, the kind where you deliver messages between 2 NPCs that are standing right around the corner from each other. It was just as annoying in TERA as it is in the other game, but thankfully those have been few and far between. The storyline progresses along a series of quest hubs. Quest givers have typical punctuation marks above their heads. Main storyline quests are red, ancillary quests are yellow, and dailies are green. This is actually very convenient because if you have elite status, you'll quickly outlevel your quest areas if you try and do all the quests, but you'll at least want to do the main storyline quests. Also, since I don't do dailies, it's nice to be able to avoid those as well. Server areas are contained in instances called channels, which are used to control population. The good news is you can change the channel you're in at any time. So if you have a quest to kill certain kinds of creatures, and those creatures are all being wiped out by other players, you can move to a less populated channel to complete your quest. It's a nice feature to have when you need it. TERA has a level-based progression system where you get new or upgraded skills every 2 levels. You can augment those skills with glyphs starting at level 20. I took my best guess at choosing some glyphs for my character. Then I used the recommended glyphs button. It reset all but 2 of my selections, so don't come to me for advice on glyphs because even I didn't take my advice. I mentioned earlier that characters are weapon locked, and I think this approach to character development could appeal to a lot of players. Starting at level 16, creatures will start randomly dropping relic pieces. Once you have enough relic pieces, you can upgrade your weapon and further enhance it with crystals and enchantments. By the way, any character can enchant their weapon. It doesn't require special crafting skill or ability. The avatar weapon ensures that you always have a powerful and level appropriate weapon equipped on your character. I have to start this by saying that TERA is a pleasantly surprising game, but there are some things you may find as annoying as I did. The user interface is really annoying. Just when I think I've got everything scaled to my liking and in its appropriate place, I enter a dungeon with a group and see this. Disaster. The reason this is only an annoyance rather than something that is broken is because it is fixable. It's just that TERA doesn't support user interface mods, and the level of trial and error and experimentation required to get your UI just right is, well, annoying. Dungeons are probably my least favorite part of the game so far. It's not that there's anything wrong with the dungeons, but the other players I'm grouped with are veterans who are leveling alts, they're racing through the dungeons, and I'm following along and trying to keep an eye out for quest objectives. Now, I've usually been able to wander around after the boss fight to finish off outstanding quests. But really? I have to set the charge twice to destroy this crate? Look, it's taken me so long to complete this quest, my groupmates have logged off and gone to bed for the night. Now, in all seriousness, it's a good thing they did simply disconnect, because had they left the group, I would have been automatically teleported out of the dungeon, which means another 15-minute wait in the dungeon queue if I want to complete this quest. Also, I don't know if I'm missing something in my first time through these dungeons, or if I really am getting follow-up quests that require me to go back into the dungeon. For example, I completed the Cultist Refuge dungeon, turned in all my quests, then got this follow-up quest that requires me to return to Cultist Refuge. And it's a main storyline quest, so it's not one that I want to abandon. That's another 15-minute wait in the dungeon queue, which is annoying. So what does all this mean? At the end of the day, the annoyances are just that, and they are few and far between. I haven't run into any part of the game that seems broken, and there's certainly not any problems that can detract from the surprising amount of fun I'm having in this game. I know I've been using that word surprising a lot in this review, but I really am surprised. TERA is a case of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. At first glance, the game shouldn't be that good. Nothing seems particularly innovative here, but they've managed to design the quests just right. The leveling pacing is just right. The combat is spectacular, and the aesthetics are stunning. All of this makes it so easy to tell yourself, yeah, I'll just knock out one more real quick quest. And 3 quest hubs later, you're ready for a dungeon. Folks, this game really is free to play. If you've never tried it or you haven't played since 2012, you owe it to yourself to give the game a try. Now, I'm not saying this is the kind of game where you'd want to uproot your epic guild from World of Warcraft and transplant it to TERA, though if you really do have an epic guild, you could end up with one of those sky castles floating around. I'll also say that if you're looking for a game where you can just be a crafter or something like that, this is probably not it. I think the low-level crafting scene is pretty much dead in this game. So let me finish this up by saying I don't use numbers to rate games because numbers are meaningless. This game is fun, and it's challenging. I mean, I've died a number of times fighting quest mobs. This ain't your typical yard trash, people. TERA is available on Steam, and you can use the Steam version even if you have an existing account for the game. That's where I'm going to end this review, folks. If you happen to be in the exiled realm of Arborea, feel free to look me up and send me a message. Until next time, this is Bitter Klinger, signing out.